Hi everyone, we're back with the color wheel project, and in this video I will show you how to create a shape that's not freehand with the brush tool. Instead, we're going to be using a combination of the pen tool again and the direct selection tool, which is right underneath the pen tool. Now I did rearrange my tools on the side so they're not in the default positions that they are for you. If you want to do the same thing, because we're going to be using these three tools, I wanted to put them together for myself. If you want to do that, we're going to go up to Edit all the way down to Toolbar. And this menu opens up where you can click and drag any of your tools anywhere. If you have a tool like the paint bucket that we use a lot, it's always in the default position of hiding behind that gradient tool. So if you want it to be out, you can take it and put it up here, and that means this little separation means that it created another spot for the tool so that you don't have to click and hold and find it. It does keep that letter, which is the keyboard shortcut. So even if you move them around or take them away from each other, the keyboard shortcut does not change. Now I have that paint bucket tool out. I have the pen tool right next to my direct selection tool, which I will be showing you now. And I also took the ellipse tool out of this menu of other shapes because I will be using the ellipse tool more than the triangle or the rectangle today. So I'm going to click done, and I have them all set up here. It does it automatically as you move those around. So here's what I have so far. I'm going to step back a lot to show you how to get here and how to create your own shape. Now I did trace this paw print shape. So all I did was take that paw print image that I found online, dropped it right in. I took this whole layer and I put the opacity down, as you can see here, all the way down to 40 about. Doesn't have to be specific, just whatever looks right to you so that you can see your drawing on top of it. I did lock that layer just in case I grabbed it by accident. I didn't want to have that interfering with my drawing. And then I also locked my guidelines layer, which is here, and I put 2 lines through the middle so that I can set up my paw prints and they look almost as if they're in a perfect circle without the guidelines. You guys can spend a lot more time perfecting that positioning. I did it a little bit quickly. Okay, let me get rid of all of this and we're going to take a step back. So all I have is my photo. I'm going to create a new layer right on top of that photo and show you how to draw that. Let's go to our pen tool. Now, I know our pen tool is confusing, has a lot of different options here. I need to zoom in a little bit to show you what the goal is. Now you can always start and just trace around. In our last project, we clicked, let go, and click again, and that creates a perfectly straight line. In this project, we want more curves and options, and I'm doing this paw print that's all curved. So I'm going to, instead of clicking and letting go, I will click and then click and drag. That creates that curve. And I can move it all around to find about where that curve is. When I let go, it creates that stroke line. Now I have my stroke up here on black so I can see it, and I have it at about 5 so that I can see how thick that line is and I can change it later. Now, when I do the pen tool, I can't go backwards, so I can't go back this way. I have to go in this direction to create the entire closed section, and then I will end at the point that I started at so that it creates that closed line. If I wanted to keep going around, I would keep going this way, click and drag, and click and drag. But this gets a little bit messy. As you can see, I don't love the curve options that it's giving me. So instead, I actually am going to delete this and start with an oval. But take your time, experiment with what works for you. try the pen tool first, and if it doesn't work, you can start with a shape like I'm starting with now. Now I'm starting with this shape. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to try and line it up about where my image is behind it. And we're going to try to add an anchor point. Right underneath the pen tool, I hold down the pen tool and it gives me this menu. I'm going to add an anchor point. These little blue squares, those are called anchor points. And that's going to help me create more of these curves on my paw print. So if I add an anchor point here, I can then take it and drag it out to that corner. I can't drag it out with the pen tool. I have to switch tools and grab my direct selection tool. This direct selection tool will allow you to move any of these squares, which are the anchor points. It will also allow you to change these lines with the circles. The circles mean that you can change the curve of the line without moving the anchor point. So my anchor point stays where it is, and these little circles alter the direction of the line. I want this one up a little bit, and I need another anchor point here so I can bring this side down. So I'm going to add an anchor point, add, go back to my direct selection tool, and pull it down. I can play around with that a little bit more, but I'm going to keep going. Move this anchor point in a little bit, move this anchor point all the way up, move this one in a little bit to match my paw print. And then I think I need maybe 2 more here to bring these in. So I'll start bringing these in to the sides. Gotta play around with it a little bit. Maybe go up here. Maybe I have to move it down a little bit here. That looks a little closer. There we go. Move that down. And I think I need 1 more anchor point. In order to go back and forth, the shortcut for the direct selection path is A. So I can start using that on my keyboard. I just don't want you guys to miss what I'm doing. So I'm clicking everything manually. Okay, not perfect, but we can keep playing around with that. Now that I have my paw print, I'm going to click out of it, just look at it. Not exactly perfect, but I can keep playing with it and I keep adding anchor points as I need. For the rest of them, I'm just going to fill in those circles, and then the triangles, I'm going to make triangles and pull in the sides a little bit. Let me do the triangles first and show you that. I could either, I forgot to put my triangle tool under my line. I could either make this a triangle, grab that up here and then alter it, just like I did with the oval before. Or, I think this will be easier for what I'm doing right now. Let me delete that triangle. I can use the curvature pen tool. So with the curvature pen tool, I'm going to start on a point. When I click the second point, it creates a straight line. And then I can actually grab it right in the middle and pull it into a curve. Now I have to go this way. I can't do this curve next because I would be clicking on the anchor point that I started with. So I have to go around this way. Click and drag in the middle. I can move this a little bit more. And I'm going to go from here back to the anchor point that I started at, click the middle and drag it out. Again, I can play with that a little bit more when I have time and I can make those points a little bit sharper. So that's how I have all of my pieces of my paw print. Okay, going back, going to delete what I just showed you because I already made it earlier. Remember, each time that you create a shape, it does create a different layer. So make sure that you're organized with your layers. I grouped mine together so that I can ungroup them later. If you merge your layers, like I showed you before, you cannot unmerge them ever. So make sure you are grouping them. You can go up to layer and group instead of merge, and you can always ungroup those. And that'll be good if you need to move, say I needed to move just this purple, I can still move it, and they're not all moving together. So that's my group. Awesome. So I took that paw print that I finished, I copy and pasted it, I grouped those 6 layers into one group so that those are my my primary colors, plus obviously green, orange, and yellow, and my secondary colors. Sorry, green, orange, and purple are my secondary colors. And then all of the tertiary colors, all 6 of those, are on a separate group. I just thought that was easier for me because I chose to make them smaller. So those are on a separate group. Now let's talk about the color part of this project. This is the most important part. Libraries. This is going to be your best friend for this project. You can save the colors that you create in your libraries and you can name them. So I have all of my colors named green, yellow, orange, and so on, all 12. My system was I did capitals for all caps for the primary and secondary colors, and then I did lowercase for the tertiary colors, just so that I can see easier what's red and what's, say, red violet. Okay, so to make a new color, if I want to go in and I actually want to alter this green, yellow green, because I don't think it's very close to green. I think it's too yellowy. I'm going to click my color menu again, open that up, and I'm going to find that yellow green that I think is going to be right in the middle of green and yellow. I can play around with this for a while. And then I'm going to add it to swatches, and that's going to be my new yellow green. Should delete the first one first so that I know which one I'm working with. So I want this one now, not the other one. I'll delete that. And I just need to find that exact layer. So that's why I labeled them, because I have to keep going back and forth between the layers, and it's a lot easier to have them labeled. So that's my green, yellow, yellow, green, same thing. Switch to my paint bucket tool. I just hit the letter G, which is the shortcut for the paint bucket tool, and I make that my new color. My shape is a few different sections, so I just go in really quick and fill in all of those sections. Your shape might be just one section, and then it'll be even quicker than that. And there it is.